Hello and welcome. My name is Naomi Stockman. I'm a hypnotherapist. I specialize in anxiety, depression, PTSD, eating disorders, and addiction. And I'm speaking today about mental and emotional exhaustion. Now, I'm sure you've all had a time in your life where you felt physical exhaustion, you just couldn't move, you just needed to go to bed. But mental exhaustion and emotional exhaustion are sometimes not as recognized, and they can cause absolute disruption in our ability. They can make life feel absolutely terrible and really difficult to go through. And these things can happen from our work, but they can also happen just from life. So if you're in a customer service role, I call that emotional labor. So you're withholding all your natural responses and you're delivering customer service to a person, you're delivering emotional labor to somebody. Or you might be in a job where you're physically not working hard, but your mind, you're really processing a lot of information. You got to think a lot at work, and that can be so emotionally draining. But stuff that happens in our life can also impact our capacity and our sense of our emotional well-being and our mental drain. So you know that feeling like I just can't even have a conversation right now. I can't make that phone call. I can't, like, even simple things seem too much. If you've been through long-term chronic stress, if you've had, a divorce, if you've had grief or other kinds of stresses in your life, maybe some trauma where you've just been maybe even having lack of sleep, like when we're tired, we just can't cope with things that are going on in our mind and our hearts and our emotions. So that makes it really hard. Now, the mind needs to rest. The emotions need to process. We feel emotions in our body. Our brain goes through sleep cycles while we're sleeping, and it actually regenerates. So it's a healing process. And I know some people who have insomnia will take sleeping tablets. They might make you go to sleep and stay what looks like asleep, but they do affect the sleep cycle that happens, which is about the regeneration and restoration. So you might find that if you need to use medications for sleep, that you're still not getting that emotional and mental clarity that is necessary in order to feel good. So we eventually will reach breaking point. Once we reach breaking point, we just have an inability to be able to cope, basically. And at that point, you might find that you start to numb out, you start to give up, and you switch off. You might have to switch your emotions off, just stop caring, like, I just can't do this anymore. I'm checking out, I'm done, like that feeling. Other times you might, depending on the type of person you are, there might be a sense of aggression. You might get really irritable. And I'm sure we've all had people in our life that we've seen use this technique, so where you're exploding outwards. I just can't feel any, take any more emotional or mental stimulation right now. And it's just the irritation. And then there's shutting down, and that's just withdrawal, and you're basically imploding inwards on that. Now, what does all this feel like? It feels like complete apathy, feels like exhaustion, emptiness. You might have trouble focusing in this place and feel quite cynical or pessimistic, like life doesn't feel good anymore, the joy is being sucked out of it. Hopelessness, maybe panic or anxiety or depression, and even I know it's a taboo subject, might be, maybe I'll put a trigger warning in about now, but having suicidal thoughts, which, look, suicidal thoughts doesn't necessarily mean being suicidal, but it's just that thought of like, how can I get off this planet? And I know I have felt that myself at times in my life. So aside from the symptoms of physical fatigue and insomnia that happen, you might also get other physical symptoms, like your appetite might change. Now, this can either go up or down. Some people get indigestion, gut issues, just from the high levels of cortisol and adrenaline that come through. You might feel like you've got an irregular heartbeat. You might get high blood pressure, and you might also find that you're taking or indulging in distracting or addictive type behaviors, and that can include food as well. So your appetite can actually go up. You might find that you're going for the sugars or the sweets or the comfort foods and that kind of thing. Now, with the addictive stuff, like people sometimes will drink, they'll take drugs, they'll play video games, they'll play on their phone. It's just like anything to just get me out of this feeling. Now, in a state of emotional and mental exhaustion, you might find that you're very forgetful and disorganized, have trouble starting things, have trouble finishing things, procrastinating. I know I lose stuff all the time. So it's very difficult. It can affect your work. Now, if you're going through a lot of emotional strain in your private life, and I've had this happen to me, and I've also had employees where I've had this happen in my businesses. And what happens is attendance or performance can be affected. So it's really good if you are feeling that level of emotional or mental fatigue that you do actually speak up and say, look, I'm really not coping. So going to something that would normally be fun might seem like an absolute drain on you. You might find that you're not wanting to go to that party or that dinner with friends, and you might start missing social events because you're just wanting to withdraw and stay home, like do less, protect the self. And your satisfaction in life, your motivation is just non-existent or down. And you might find that feeling, and I this is me totally to a T, where you just want to pack up everything and run. Like, I just want to move to another place. I want to just sell everything I own, buy myself a van and just disappear into nowhere. Like, I have fantasies about going to some remote town and just sitting there with a paintbrush or a type, being able to write a book or whatever, but just having me time. It might feel really hard to make decisions as well. So what is it that is the tipping point? So you know how you have the straw that broke the camel's back. It's not one emotional event. It's not, one stressful thing. It's not the fact that you felt something awful necessarily, but there is good stress called eustress, and there's bad stress called distress. When we're in a state of distress, it can be from one thing that happens, which is just really like a shocking event where you have no power and it's just like a complete feeling of helplessness. But it can also be, that 3 event rule. Like, I woke up this morning, I had a flat tire. Okay, I thought I'll ring the NRMA or roadside assistance. And then I realized that, this other awful thing happened, and I'm still kind of holding it together. And then the third thing, it just tips me over the edge, and you just, at that point, my mental and emotional capacity has been reached and I'm no longer able to function. So in the professional world, like if you were to speak to somebody that's talking about like workplace, they would talk about burnout. Now, what's the difference between burnout and mental and emotional stress? Absolutely nothing, except for that burnout is used in the workplace context, but you can have burnout from just living, just life. If you've got a family, if you've got a job, if you've got a home, if you've got bills, if you've got relationships, friendships, anything like that, you can experience mental and emotional burnout. And I know students frequently, my daughter's doing year 12 at the moment, she is definitely emotionally and mentally burned out. And I've been meaning to have a conversation with her just to say, forget the marks, just get to the finish line. Look, it really doesn't matter. And I know some parents might disagree, but look, our mental and emotional health is our number one priority. There is nothing more important other than our health. So physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. There are the 4 parts of us. We're not just one part. We have 4 parts. We need to look after all of those parts. So what I want to talk about next is how to address this. So let me introduce connection. Now, we are all connection-seeking beings. We started off in this world seeking connection. The first thing we did was we looked for a voice, comfort, security, safety. Tell me I'm safe wherever I am. And babies, incidentally, who are fed and kept warm and dry and looked after, but are never held and do not receive connection with a caregiver, they actually have a thing called failure to thrive, and they actually die. So we as human beings, in order to live, in order to thrive, our nervous system needs connection. When we are in a state of mental and emotional exhaustion, we are not connected. We are disconnected. And the areas of connection for us are, we need to be connected to ourselves. Now, if you are burning yourself out, you have in some way ignored your self-connection. We need to feel connected to the world. If the world is burning us out, there's some connection there. Others, we need to be connected to others as well. And we need a connection with our soul or our spirit, or however you experience that. So the first thing is we need to rest and reconnect. So what tends to happen is we tend to either keep pushing ourselves, or we switch off, snap, withdraw, or we explode on it all over other people and cause pain in others. But the truth is that laying in your bed feeling horrible, bad and guilty, and it's like marinating in your own distress, right? It might make you feel like you're avoiding the stressor, but it's not rejuvenating in the sense that it could be more rejuvenating. So we need to get out. So this is some things that I find helpful, because I have pushed myself to burnout many times, and emotionally been through a lot, and mentally had a lot on my plate as well. So we'll talk about physical another time, but mental and emotional really needs some self-care. So things that I do, I am a person that I get a lot of connection when I get into water. I like the fact that when I'm underwater, so I get into a bath, for example, at the very least, not so much a shower is not as good. I need to have my ears and I need everything covered. So I will put Epsom salts in the bath. Magnesium is awesome for soaking. It goes through your skin and soaks into your system. It gives you magnesium, which is a relaxant. If you're stressed, you're probably needing some of that anyway. So getting into a bath, and I like to just put my whole ears, face and everything under, and just leave this little bit out here so that I can breathe, and just lay there until I can calm my body. Getting a massage with essential oils. Now, again, these are transdermal. They go through your skin. They have properties which are able to help you through your olfactory senses, your sense of smell, going into your body, and your nervous system receives messages from them about safety and relaxation and well-being. And that again is connection. So somebody is touching your skin, and you can just even do that now, just connecting with yourself, just touching yourself and using some soothing words perhaps, and that will help build, restore, connect. Because the thing is that when we're disconnected, we are out of homeostasis, we are out of balance, we are not well, and that's that emotional and mental fatigue causing that. So a lot of times if you are emotionally and mentally fatigued, you might find that you can't sleep. Now, this is a huge problem because rest is part of the, like I said, getting better. But so that's why this other stuff is important. There's no point going to bed and not sleeping well, because the quality of your sleep is really what's important. So if your stress is coming from other people, I would urge you to just cut for a little time. You might need to send a text message saying, I'm not feeling emotionally well at the moment, or I'm feeling very mentally drained at the moment, and I just need to disconnect, and I'll message you, tomorrow or in a few days, or however long you feel that you need. So just cut that tight. Take the space. Don't feel guilty or bad. Just connect to yourself and say, I'm not feeling good. I need some space. I need some me time. I am important too. Acknowledge that you need to take this time, and not in a guilty kind of angry kind of way, but in a really positive kind of way. Now, when we're talking about grounding to the world, look, what I like to do, and what I find is really helpful, is to get out in nature. I know there's a thing called bush bathing. I've never tried it, but or maybe I haven't. I just don't know that that's what it is. But basically, like the elements, earth, the grass under your feet, the water, the sun, the air. So what I do is I drive to a place in Vaucluse, which is probably, 40 minutes from my house or something. And there's just a bay there, and there's water, and there's footpaths. Like, it's a very expensive suburb. Like, I don't live there, but I can go there and I can park my car, and I can just go and sit in the sun and walk on the sand. And It's absolutely silent and peaceful. I don't know anyone there. No one's going to recognize me or ask me questions or anything. I can go sit on a rock. I can read a book. I can lay down somewhere. I remember one time I was feeling really, really imbalanced, and I just went and clambered along some rocks and found a little spot overlooking the water, and I just watched the boats and that kind of thing. So that really, really, really is a way to find and build that connection. So, and what I'd like you to do now, and years ago I did an exercise where I was looking at a feeling that I had. It was kind of like a lost feeling. So if you have a feeling in you that there's something missing or that you're lost, it's a connection issue. And what mine actually was is that I never felt at home. So what you can do is you can actually connect into yourself and ask yourself, where do I feel home? And it could be in your body. Scan your body. Is there a place in your heart that feels like home? Is there somewhere else in your body that feels like home? Is it a physical place? Is it a person? Is it a feeling? Is it a memory? Is it a time? So connecting to what actually feels home to you. And I remember when I realized this feeling that I had for like 20 years, hadn't felt the sense of home. I always felt like, because we all know the feeling of being away from home, right? You know that feeling that you're away from home. And it's not that it's a bad feeling, it's just it's not home. Well, and we all know the feeling of being at home. And I realized that I had spent the last 20 years of my life never, or even longer, 25, feeling never at home. And when I realized that, I just cried and cried and cried, because, and once I acknowledged that and released that, then I went to later, I went to find it again, where oh, this is this thing I've got, this, I don't feel at home. And just acknowledging it and releasing it meant that I had found home. Like it was no longer there, that feeling of not being at home, from being away from home, that homelessness, I called it, but it sounds very park benchish, but yeah, homelessness. Connection is so, so important. Connection to self, connection to others. Think about a person that you feel connected with, someone that you would go to or could go to if you felt upset or stressed or just needed someone to listen to. That person's important to you. And those people are important to you. Think of a place that you feel really connected and really at home. Think of a feeling, a sense, a memory. Connect to yourself. The connection is what is missing when you're feeling that emotional and mental exhaustion. And you can even use breath work, use imagination. So you can, do things like where you're breathing in, all the connection, and breathing out. And as you breathe out, just imagine all the stresses leaving your body and everything magically connecting back together again as it should be. Your heart connecting, your mind connecting, your body connecting, your soul connecting, dropping back into your body. Because when we get distressed, we tend to leave our body. We go into, and that's why it's so hard to sleep at night, because we're activated. We're up here like somewhere and not down in our soul, in our spirit. So if you have a faith, if you believe in God, the universe, your higher self, whatever it is, connect to that creation, something bigger than me, whatever it is for you, because I'm not putting my stuff onto you. I'm giving you, tools here to be able to really give yourself back your mental and emotional health. Now, if you find that anything I've said has resonated, I do run programs, like 6-week programs, which are really, really powerful. Look, this stuff that I touch on in these lives is just like the tip of the iceberg. It's just little bits of information, but there are very, very powerful techniques for bringing this wholeness and wellness back into your emotions and into your mind and into your heart, and filling that emptiness and taking that stress away, that powerlessness, and clearing up the past and making the future safe. Like just everything all together to just really work on what it is that each of us, every one of us needs, because we are all the same. I'm the same. You're the same. We all need to feel connected to the world, to ourselves, to each other, and to our soul, or to our spirit, and whatever that means to you. Please like, subscribe, comment. If you're watching, if you're not watching later, give me a hashtag replay and let's connect. I'm really, really passionate about what I do, and this is part of it. Have a beautiful day.